शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वतीदेवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे Krishna. So since this is not a discussion and it's be like a more like a lecture, if anybody wants to bring the chairs ahead also, that's fine. So I'm going to speak on the 10 principles of Raja Dharma. Basically, dharma means duty, and Raja Dharma refers to the principles and duties connected with administration. The word shas in Sanskrit has 4 connotations. Shas basically means control, rule, discipline, and connected to rule and discipline there is shastra, which is we agree to be ruled and disciplined by the word of God. There is shishya, a person who is willing to be disciplined under the instructions of a living person. Then there is shasan, which means administration, where we agree to be ruled and governed by certain laws, policies, principles. And fourth is shastra. When nothing works, then only under the threat of weapons one agrees to be ruled and controlled. So there are 2 elements when it comes to Raja Dharma. One is the principles of governance, and the second is the principle of protection called Rakshan Dharma. So the most important scriptures which deal with governance and administration are Ramayana, the 100th chapter of Ayodhya Kand, where Lord Ram meets Bharat in Chitrakoot, that is known as Kachid Sarga, where continuously in around 75 verses, Lord Ram is asking questions to Bharat about how the kingdom of Ayodhya is going on. So that's a very exhaustive chapter, and in my GBC college lectures, I take a 3-hour session on going through the entire chapter, and that also is divided into 10 principles. But since we have very less time, so we will just go into an overview and not get into the details, but otherwise the verses in that Ayodhya Kand 100th chapter, which you can note and refer to later, is one of the most classic principles of administration described by Lord Ram to Bharat. Then another very important resource for Raja Dharma is Bhishma Parva. Lord Bhishma's instructions to Yudhishthira Maharaj in that section also. Then there is Chanakya's Arthashastra, and there is the Manu Smriti and the Manu Samhita. All of these are the primary resources where Raja Dharma, Prajapalan is described in great detail. But since we have very brief interaction here for 45 minutes only, so we will directly get into the overall principles of the 10, which is divided into 3 qualities and 7 behaviors. So the first quality which the Raja Dharma speaks about is character. And character refers to, first of all, integrity. Integrity and honesty are different. Honesty is to speak what I have done. Integrity is to do as I have spoken or have taken a stand. Ramayana, in Balakand and Ayodhya Kand, we find Dasharath Maharaj makes the decision that he will make Ramchandra the king. The whole kingdom assembles and Dasharath Maharaj makes the announcement, I am going to make Ram the king, I am going to retire. There is a tumultuous noise, and Dasharath Maharaj is bewildered by that noise, and he asks one of the ministers, what was that noise all about? And the minister said, I will only share with you if you promise me you will not punish me. So Dasharatha said, why should I punish you? So the minister said, the noise which you heard was the cry from the citizens. And that was a cry of great ecstasy and joy that in the last 60,000 years, O Dasharath, you have made so many decisions. But the best decision you have made is the decision to retire. And therefore we are all blissful. For a moment, Dasharath experienced insecurity. And he looked at the minister and said, am I so useless that my retirement is being celebrated? So at that time, the minister said, no, it is not that you're useless, but your son, Ram, is so glorious and full of divine qualities. You have only one fault, that you are the father of such a glorious son. So all the minister did was shift the ego a little bit. And when Dasharath felt that my son is glorious, he felt much better. And so that is the moment where Dasharath Maharaj decides to make Ram the king. So the whole kingdom is celebrating. And it is that moment when Ram is asked to go to the forest. And it can be such a traumatic thing that you're expecting something and suddenly next moment something else happens. And I have been to ICUs and been to some of my friends' bedside when they got a heart attack. And one of my friends, when I asked, why did you get a heart attack? And he revealed to me that I was expecting a promotion. And I did not get a promotion, and instead someone younger to me was promoted and made my boss. And I said, why is it so bad? He said, because I was the one who recruited him. So the shift in identity sometimes can be traumatic, and it's very difficult for people to accept it, acknowledge it, and all kinds of things people resort to avoid such a situation. But Lord Ram is an embodiment of integrity, and he just agrees and goes to the forest to set an example of discipline. So therefore, that is integrity as a very important aspect of character. Second aspect of character is the ability to keep promises. We have the example of Vibhishan. And Vibhishan, he is actually challenging Ravana. The word Vibhishan means one who causes fear and tremor. Vibhishan, one who is dangerous. So what was so dangerous about Vibhishan? Vibhishan was very dangerous for Ravana because of his integrity. Ravana could purchase everyone in the entire kingdom of Lanka with all the wealth and the gold except Vibhishan. And therefore Vibhishan's integrity could not be purchased. Vibhishan's truthfulness could not be purchased. Vibhishan's character could not be purchased. And therefore Ravana could not force Vibhishan to be his yes man. And therefore, when Vibhishan will speak up was something which Ravana was always afraid of. And that's why he is known as Vibhishan. So when he gives several warnings to Ravana and still Ravana does not accept and agree, so that is the moment where Vibhishan decides that he has to keep his promise to Dharma, and then he jumps with 4 ministers. And the Vaishnava Acharyas describe that these 4 ministers with whom Vibhishan jumped and came right in front of Ram, they represent the 4 aspects of Sharanagati or surrender. And the 4 aspects of Sharanagati represented are that Ananyagatitvam, I have no other shelter. Akinchanatvam, I am nothing. I have nothing. I have no possession. So akinchanatvam means I have no possession. Ananyagatitvam means I have no other shelter or destination to go to. Third is Shakti, that I have full faith that Ram is so powerful that he can give shelter to anybody. And fourth is Saralta, which is before making any relationship with anyone in this world, we always make a background check, because we are not sure about somebody's background and their character and whatever they have gone through, and whether we can handle that relationship or not. So background check is mandatory. But Lord Ram, because he's all powerful, is also very, very simple and straightforward. He accepts relation from anybody, whatever may be their background. And even if it is Vibhishan, who is the brother of Ravana. So when Vibhishan comes right in front of Ram, at that time he expresses his prayer and he says, Sarva Loka Sharanyaya Raghavaya Mahatmane Nivedayata Mam Kshipram Vibhishanam Upastitam. That, O Ram, you are the one who gives shelter to the entire creation. You are the ultimate abode for all the fallen souls of this world. Nivedayata Mam, please accept my prayer. And then he uses one word, Kshipram. He says, quickly. Why? He says, I am coming from an Asura background, Rakshasa background. I am coming from a background where surrendering is not natural. Sense gratification is natural. So, the extent of time to which the desire to surrender remains in my heart is unpredictable. I cannot take one thing for granted. How long this desire to serve and surrender to Krishna will continue? It is the most precious jewel which the jiva has. Amongst all the assets which we can gather in this creation, for a practicing devotee, the most precious asset which we have gathered and we can continue to protect is this Swatantrata Ratna, the jewel of free will by which we desire to give our free will at the lotus feet of Krishna. So he says, Kshipram, quickly accept me, because I have made a promise to surrender to you, but I cannot guarantee how long this will continue. And therefore, for as many years we are practicing this process, we should not take it for granted, because our ability, our strength to surrender and follow these principles and be part of this Vaishnava Sangha is made possible only by the cumulative mercy and grace of the devotees. So therefore the Vaishnava Sangha is all important, because it is by that power that we as an individual are able to maintain our vows, our promises. And therefore, Vaishnavera gunagrahi no dekha dosh काय mane vakye kore Vaishnava santosh. Chaitanya Charitamrita describes that our ability to maintain our character, our ability to lead a life of integrity and keep our promises and vows is very much totally dependent on the grace of the Vaishnavas, of the pleasure of the Vaishnavas. So however different from our natures the Vaishnavas may be, and no matter how much differences of opinion the Vaishnavas may have with me on multiple issues, that's a smaller matter compared to our existential dependence on the Vaishnava's grace for the mere practice of our process of bhakti and our ability to follow these principles. And therefore, Kay mane vakye kore Vaishnava santosh. So therefore, when we speak about character, integrity, keeping promises, treating others fairly, all of these come within the ambit of the first value, which is quality, which is character. And therefore, in the Vaishnava Sangha, the ability to maintain our character very much depends on how we are able to serve and please the Vaishnava. So we cannot disconnect that. And therefore, the number of intelligent and inspired devotees in the association of Vaishnavas vis-a-vis the number of people who are actually able to make impactful service in the Vaishnava Sangha there is a lot of difference because of one thing, impatience. So the impatience kills the intelligent, and therefore many times even before that Vaishnava is able to perform some real impactful service, because of the impatience we'll end up committing various kinds of offenses and speaking things and doing things which ultimately cuts through our ability to perform something wonderful in the long run. So that's the first value, character. Second, we go to courage. Courage basically means that we do not allow any fear to take over us, even though there may be difficult, challenging situations. In the Srimad Bhagavatam first canto, Parikshit Maharaj is described as Tasmat Namna Vishnurata iti loke bhavishyati na sandeho mahabhaga mahabhagavato mahan. He is described and glorified as Vishnu Rata, one who is protected by Lord Vishnu. And then he is cursed to die in 7 days and 7 nights. So naturally death is a very, very fearful situation. But Maharaj Parikshit's response to that notice of death is very interesting. And he says, Tasyaiva meghasya paravaresho vyasakta chittasya griheshu abhikshnam. He says that yes, death personified is standing in front of me, but I see this death as an opportunity for me to be detached from the various things which are connecting me to this world and deviating me from my absorption in the Lord. Nirveda mulo dvija shapa rupo yatra prasakto bhayam ashudatte. It was only because of this curse that actually I am able to uproot those attachments from my heart. And so, he is cursed by the Brahmana boy Shringi, but Parikshit Maharaj has such degree of fearlessness and such neutrality that is surrounding himself with so many Brahmanas to hear the Srimad Bhagavatam. And therefore, courage also means overcoming all kinds of temptations to sustain one's character. And courage also means to consistently engage in devotional service, even in the midst of several uncertainties. One of the big causes of fear is also uncertainty. And therefore, that's a very, very beautiful point described here. One time, I was, talking to one of my friends who was in Citibank. He was a global head. And he was talking to me and he said, you know what, Gauranga Prabhu, I visited many temples of ISKCON. I think ISKCON is better managed than Citibank. So I was very flattered. I said, oh, really? Which temple you went to? He said, well, I went to LA. There was Mangalarti 4:30 in the morning. The Pujari came out, blew the shank 3 times, and then he offered the, Mangalarti, the Dhoop, Deep, everything. Then I went to London, same 4:30, Sydney 4:30, Mumbai 4:30. What kind of standard you have? Amazing. What kind of consistency? This is the kind of standardization we want. Then I asked him, how long you stay in the temple? He said, well, after 5 o'clock when the curtain opens, I have my other things, so I leave. I said, that's when the Leela begins. So yes, yesterday at the Org Day, we presented to the GBC a very beautiful project we have started working on. It's called ISKCON Management Handbook. So we are creating 3 levels, one for governance, one for core processes, and one for supporting activities. We aspire to create 74 handbooks over the next 4 years, and I look forward to all of your support and participation in this. So that was a little commercial break. So the important point is uncertainty. Why Srila Prabhupada created this organization is so that there could be consistency. And in the midst of all kinds of difficult situations, to be able to maintain our practice requires courage. And therefore, this courage is something which is very much glorified. And Srila Prabhupada, when he brought his disciples to India, they were courageous. They had never been to India. But Srila Prabhupada engaged them in spreading Krishna consciousness. Guru Kripa Swami, young 22-year-old, at that time brahmachari, and he comes to Kalpadevi market, he shows somebody the Bhagavad Gita, and they start making fun of him, saying, hey, what is this? Gita, Arjun and all. Arjun is not the hero of Mahabharata. Karna is the real hero. So he's bewildered, he never heard of Karna. Because Prabhupada had only spoken about Arjuna. He knew, if Prabhupada said Arjuna, it must be Arjuna. So he started arguing with this guy, and this guy was arguing, and there was like a loud discussion for some time, and then Guru Kripa Swami that time was only 22, 23-year-old, so he got little, over the top. So he took his fist and brought it near this guy's nose, 2 inches away, and he said, Arjuna is the hero. You tell me whether you agree or not. And this guy was totally shocked. He looked at him and said, you are chanting Hare Krishna, you are Swami Prabhupada's disciple. How can you be so angry? What effect has it had on you? And Guru Kripa Swami said, 3 years before meeting Prabhupada, my hand would have already gone into the nose. It is 2 inches away. It is the power of Srila Prabhupada. So, when Srila Prabhupada unleashed this Krishna consciousness movement across the world, it was not that there was like a plan. This is how it will be done. The strategy will be like this, like this, like this. No. Courage. And therefore, this courage is very important. And when we celebrate Janmashtami, we celebrate the courage of Vasudeva. And what is that courage? Vasudeva is described as tatascha shauri bhagavat prachodita sutam samadaya cha sutika grihat. Bhagavatam describes Vasudeva as shauri, means courageous. What kind of courage are we talking about? He never picked a sword in his hand. Vasudeva never fought a battle. So the context of courage in the Bhagavatam is not how many battles you fight, or not how many people you defeat, but how a devotee refuses to accept defeat in any circumstances and continues his effort. And that is the idea of courage. And that's, I think, very crucial to understand. In the Madhavendra Puri pastime also, Bahu Parishrama Chandana Remuna Anila Anand Badilamane Dukkhana Ganila. He brought all of that chandan with great difficulty, but he did not keep a count of how many difficulties and challenges he had to go through, because counting means business. Keeping account means business. And love means no keeping count. Love means only giving. So therefore, that was the kind of courage which Madhavendra Puri had. So the third quality is commitment. The third value which we are discussing, character, courage and commitment. Commitment means to consistently fulfill our duties and get the results. Consistently fulfill our duties. So when we have the example of Jatayu, right? So Jatayu fought, but he lost. So the question is, was he committed? Yes, he tried his best with all the assets he had at his disposal. Right? Rajye Bhrashto Vane Vaso. When Ramchandra comes to see the dead body of Jatayu, and is embracing Jatayu's body after Jatayu has left, Ramchandra is crying and looking at Lakshman. He says that Idrishya mama alakshmir Nirdahed api pavaka. Lord Ram tells Lakshman, just see my condition. I lost my kingdom. Rajye Bhrashto Vane Vaso. I was sent to the forest. And Sita Bhrashto. My wife was kidnapped. And Hato Dvija. And my friend Jatayu is killed. Just see the list of my misfortunes. Idrishiya Mama Alakshmi. Just see the extent of my misfortune. My Alakshmi is burning like hot forest fire, that nirdahet api pavakam, that the fire of my misfortune can burn fire itself. That is the kind of misfortune I am going through. Lord Ram is speaking this, but he is deeply attracted and touched by the commitment of Jatayu, who is trying his best in the midst of all difficulties. Another example, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, age 90 plus, task given, compile the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Lila Ratnasar Swarupera Bhandar Te Uthuila Raghunatera Kanthe. Taha kichu jeshu nilu taha iha bistarilu bhaktagana dilu ei bhete. So normally if we are given a task, a service, our first response would be, what are the assets I am getting to perform this seva? Do I have the sufficient assets? So Kaviraj Goswami is saying that I don't have any assets. I am already 90 plus. But I have been given the Chaitanya Lila, which is like jewels, from Swarup Damodar Goswami to Das Goswami, and from Das Goswami, I heard it. Taha kichu jeshu nilu taha iha bistarilu. On the bank of Radha Kund, I was one of the fortunate souls to hear, and I am simply wanting to give this as a gift to the Vaishnava community. Sheshalilar Sutragan Karikichu Vivaran Taha Vistarite Chitta Hoye. And I am just writing this in short, synopsis of the Antalila in Madhyalila itself. Why I am doing that? Right? Thake jadi ayushesh bistariba lilashesh jadi mahaprabhu kripa hoye. Because there is one thing all of you have which I don't have. The asset of time. You are relatively guaranteed that you will get up tomorrow. I have no guarantee I'll get up tomorrow because I'm 90 plus. So therefore, the service which has been given is actually a privilege. And the power to perform that service is something which is given by the Lord Himself, which on most occasions we may take for granted. So therefore, we have no control over getting assets together, but we only have control over one thing, our ability to commit to that service, however difficult and impossible and challenging it may appear. That commitment is my only asset. And so Kaviraj Goswami is demonstrating that commitment and saying that Ami Bruddha Jaratur, I am old. Likhite kapayakar, as I writing, my hands are trembling. Manakichu smarane na hoy, I cannot remember. Na dekhiye naine, I cannot see. Na shuniye shravane, I cannot hear. Tabu likhi, still I am writing. E bada vismay. That is so astonishing. And therefore, that commitment is something which Srila Prabhupada demonstrated and created ISKCON based on that commitment, not on the basis of assets, but on the basis of his attitude. Otherwise, when he was trying to spread Krishna consciousness in India, he showed the easy journey to other planets to one of his friends in the 50s. And his friend asked, why should I read this book, Abhay Babu? And he said, if you read this, you will go back to Goloka. And his friend said, after going to Goloka, can I come back to Jhansi? So Prabhupada said, you can't do that. He said, I am not interested. So this was the kind of people he was meeting. But he was committed to the order of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So courage, character, courage and commitment, these are the three values. Then we will look at the 7 behaviors, first of which is truthfulness, which is to avoid duplicity and deceitfulness. And we have the example of Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj tested Shukracharya, and when he saw that Shukracharya is showing duplicity, deceit, he had said that whatever vow we have taken we should follow in his teachings, but now he is telling that you step back on your word. So gurorapi avaliptasya karyakaram ajanatau pata pratipannasya parityago vidyate. Mahabharata is quoted by Srila Prabhupada in the 8th canto purport, where he says that if you see a discrepancy, that guru can be rejected. And then, because of keeping his commitment, Bali Maharaj is put to severe test, and he is actually arrested by Lord Vamandev. And when Bali Maharaj is arrested, Bali Maharaj, he speaks a verse where he says, Pumsam shlagyatamam manye dandam arhattamarpitam yam namata pita bhrata suhridascha dishyantihi. My dear Lord, we knew that the Supreme Lord is mercy personified, grace personified, well-wisher personified. But today, I have seen you in a new form. You are punishment personified also. The way you can punish, nobody can punish. But that punishment given by you is for the ultimate benefit. And therefore, when I give my lectures on this section, I ask the people in the audience that Bali Maharaj demonstrated truthfulness and avoiding duplicity as an important value. So, which one would you prefer as devotees? A reward given by materialists or a punishment given by Krishna? Silence. Please think, all the deities are hearing. Reward given by materialists versus punishment given by Krishna. So that can be your meditation for ILS. So Bali Maharaj demonstrated that, and that's truthfulness as an important value. The fifth principle is keeping word and commitment. Thakur Haridas is tempted by the Vaishya. Tulasi ratanke Vaishya namaskar kari dware vasi name suni bole hori hori. When she comes to Haridas, Haridas's reaction is not that get lost. Our reaction should be like that. But Haridas says, I will fulfill your desire. Just wait. And then he made her wait and hear his jap. So he did not speak about glories of holy name or speak philosophy, but she just heard the purity, the intensity, and the potency of his own pure intention. So many times when we speak about absorption in the holy names and the devotees say how I am getting distracted in chanting, we are not mystic yogis trying to pull the mind back forcibly. The important element in our absorption is purifying our intention. And to the extent there is alignment between our intention to serve and our actions to serve, to that extent there will be absorption. And therefore the three important principles is intensity in our sadhana, consistency in our seva, and sensitivity in our sambandha or dealing with sevaks. So when there is intensity in sadhana, consistency in seva, and sensitivity in dealing with sevaks, to that extent we experience what Srila Prabhupada calls as purity is the force. And so the Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Nirvikar Haridasa Gambhira Ashray Bolite Lagila Tare Hoya Sadai. Thakur Haridas could spend so many hours chanting because he was nirvikar. Vikara means transformation, like milk is transformed into yogurt. But nothing external could transform Thakur Haridas's desire. His desire, his intention was beyond corruption or pollution. And therefore, he remained like that, and he kept his word and commitment. And Prasiddha Vaishnavi, Bada Bada Vaishnav Taha Darshanite Yanti, she became a powerful Vaishnavi and people would come for her darshan. That was the transformation created by Thakur Haridas. Maya Dasi Prema Mage Ithe ki Vismaye Sadhu Kripa Nama Bina Prema na Janmaye. And when Maya Devi came in Shantipur to attract Thakur Haridas, she became Dasi and she started begging for prema. What is so astonishing? Because two things are required for prema: sadhu kripa and nama. The mercy of the Vaishnav and the ability to chant the holy names purely. Sixth is treating others with dignity and respect. And very important pastime, when Lord Ram sees Vibhishan, the monkey soldiers are opposing, Sugriva is opposing that we should not give shelter to Vibhishan. Why? He is Ravana's brother. Because he is Ravana's brother, he should not be given shelter. And they insult him, they reject him. And then finally Lord Ram asks Hanumanji. And Hanumanji says, my dear Lord, there was no need for him to come all the way here. He could have just been part of Lanka only. And in fact, the Acharyas describe that Vibhishan was always in Lanka. And always he had a pious life. He was always chanting Ram Nam also in his own house. But there was never a conflict between Vibhishan and Ravan till Hanumanji entered. When Hanuman entered Lanka, when the Vaishnav entered, Vaishnav is the disruptor of the collaboration between Papa and Punya. So as long as Papa and Punya have their collaboration, Sharanagati can never come. Ravana was running his kingdom of Papa. He had given one corner of Punya for Vibhishan. Vibhishan was happy with his Punya. Ravana was happy with his Papa. Their lives were going on. But when Hanumanji came, there was disruption. And then the Punya gets the power to confront the Papa. Otherwise, when Punya decides to meekly coexist with Papa, Sharanagati cannot happen. For Sharanagati, there has to be disruption. There has to be conflict. And therefore, Hanumanji as a Vaishnava, when he entered, then that transformation happened. And then, finally, Hanumanji is glorifying Vibhishana. And Lord Ram accepts and he says, Sakradeva prapannoyas tavasmi itiyache. If somebody comes to me and says even once that I am yours, I will accept that person forever. So therefore, treating with dignity and respect, very important. And Lord Ram demonstrated that with Vibhishan. Seventh is, do your duty and be accountable. Right. Srila Prabhupada continued writing and translating his books. In the middle of the night, there was no support, but still he continued. Why? Because he knew that this is important. And all the verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita which I am quoting, I am only able to do because Srila Prabhupada took a break in 1972 from the Srimad Bhagavatam translation and started translating the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Prabhupada was in Bhogala Ashram. He was on the way to the Krishna Balram temple site, and the devotees had gone ahead. And on the roadside, some sweet shop, owner had invited the devotees and given them some sweets. So the devotees were busy eating the sweets and Prabhupada's car passed by. And the devotees got a little bewildered that Prabhupada will see them. And Prabhupada's car went ahead, stopped, turned back, and stood right in front of where the devotees were. Prabhupada turned the window down, and Prabhupada had his eyes wide open. And the devotees could not hide the sweets, because Rasgulla can't enter all at once. So Prabhupada looked at the devotees and said, Bengali sweets essential for life. And the devotees are very happy that Prabhupada is happy. 3 years later, Prabhupada was in California. There was a book table, and next to that was a sweet shop, sweet table, Mahaprasad sweet shop, a sweet stall. So Prabhupada came there, and one devotee who was there in that episode, he took some sandesh and showed it to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, Bengali sweets. Prabhupada immediately picked up Chaitanya Charitamrita and he said, this is the real Bengali sweet. And that's what Srila Prabhupada did. Performed the duties diligently so that you and me can have a common context of what the Shastra for our society is globally. Both the Chaitanya Charitamrita and the Srimad Bhagavatam. So being dutiful is important. 8th is being ethical. Ethical basically means that just like in the pastime of the Changa, Gopinath Patnaik, he did not pay what he was supposed to pay, and then Lord Chaitanya had to intervene and he was very upset. So Srila Prabhupada says, in your regular duties you must be ethical, and ethical basically means to always think I am eternal servant of Krishna. To think I am eternal servant of Krishna is the platform for morality, religion and ethics, Prabhupada says. And Prabhupada says second thing, if a person indulges in sin, he loses both materially and spiritually. And third, Srila Prabhupada says, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to demonstrate the unity between the ashrams. And therefore, the unity between the ashrams is based on the principle that I am Krishna's servant, not on the basis of some kind of sense gratification. And lastly, Srila Prabhupada says, even if a sadhaka makes a mistake and he has an ethical dilemma, there must be genuine and sincere regret and rectification. And that should be always the case. So that's the 8th principle of being ethical. 9th is being courageous. Okay, so we already saw courage as one of the principles, but here when I say courageous, it means not being hopeless. And the classic case is Sanatana Goswami has just heard for almost 2 months from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Varanasi the entire philosophy, Sanatana Shiksha. And just within a short time afterwards he gets a disease and he's in Jagannath Puri and he's hopeless and he wants to commit suicide. Which means philosophy in itself sometimes may not be sufficient. He is in front of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Supreme Lord himself. He has all the information he received from Lord Chaitanya just recently. He has the intellect which none of us can match to process all that philosophy. But with the combination of all this, Krishna can sometimes put us in circumstances where we will still feel hopeless. And in that state, we need to hear the message of hope from another devotee only. And therefore, no matter how many gadgets we get, no matter how many YouTube channels you subscribe to, you can never ever be free from the touch of the Vaishnava for being hopeful in Krishna consciousness. And therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells him, Bhajanera madhye sreshta navabhida bhakti, Krishna prema Krishna tite dhare mahashakti, tana madhya sarvasreshta nama sankirtan, niraparade namalale pai premadan. That suicide is not the way to get Krishna. It is through bhajan and niraparad bhajan. Nama Kirtan. And therefore, Krishna Bhakti, Krishna Prema, Seva Pravartan, Lupta Tirtha Uddhar or Vairagya Shikshan. You are saying you are useless? Are, my entire mission is dependent on you. 10 things I have thought in my mind of what I want you to do. And you want to end your life? Nonsense. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving him hope. And why we come to ILS? We come to ILS not because we are here to gather information and data. The most important asset which the Vaishnava Sangha gives is we may be helpless, but we should never be hopeless. And the Vaishnavas, with their experiences, their realization and their Shastric touch, can always give us hope. And that's exactly what Lord Chaitanya does for Sanatana Goswami, giving hope. And 10th principle of Raja Dharma is to live your values faithfully to the spiritual core. And the example is Lord Chaitanya doesn't give mercy to Prataparudrara Maharaj so easy, saying that I will not compromise on sannyasi principles. Yadi sei Mahaprabhu na pai kripadhan ki barajya ki badeha sab akaran. And Prataparudrara Maharaj is thinking you are giving mercy to the whole world, why you are not giving to me? And then he says, maybe you took a vow while descending that except Prataparudra I will deliver everybody. But still, I take a vow that till you give me mercy, I will not give up. So therefore, Prataparudra Maharaj lived as per the principles. Lord Chaitanya also followed the principles faithfully. So these are the 3 values and the 7 different behaviors which I wanted to summarize. Character, courage and commitment as the values. Truthfulness, keeping the word and commitment, treating with dignity and respect. Then doing your duty and being accountable, being ethical, being courageous and not being hopeless, and living your values faithfully to the spiritual core. So these are 10 principles which in Raja Dharma we can consider to be as a brief overview and summary. But as I said, if you want a lot of details, they are there in Lord Ram and Bharat Maharaj's conversation in the Ayodhya Kand 100th chapter of Sri Valmiki Ramayana. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.